All right, good morning. Have a great Sunday, everybody. I just want to clarify something. I wanted to make a video about the jay, the blue jay, the bird, my favorite corvid bird, the lord of the forest. But I think there's something more important to clarify. So yeah, is the word postpone? I will just make this video later. Remember this guy? Yeah. Um, I made a video where you know, I have a default way to make videos when I have no intention whatsoever, not try to push a narrative. I always use irony and kind of, like in poetry, we have artistic freedom where we say ambivalent things that could mean more than just that could carry more than just one linear way, which costs clarity, but um, creates more content and more meaning. But it also burdens the watcher, the consumer of the content, with the task to filter out, to discern what I could mean, and maybe I could mean more than just one way. However, I also use humorous ways, and sometimes I say what I don't mean because, like, I make fun about something, or I provoke, or whatever. And when I make such videos, there is a lot of misunderstanding often. So one of those was when I was talking with my, free chest and talked about narcissism. That is, in my opinion, not only in my opinion, but is part of everybody. It is a part of early childhood where we learn it's a separation, individuation time where we separate from mama and create our self awareness, our selfishness. And it's just that narcissists get disrupted in this phase. I don't go into the reasons how they are created, but it's a childhood traumatic experience based on, in one case, idealization, which is nothing less but conditional love, which conditions the narcissist to feel better than others, divorced from reality, and create these conditionings of, manipulate reality in order to seem to be more grandiose or greater than in reality and connect love to that. However, it can also be through rejection and neglection. Bad parenting in this, both is bad parenting. So, idealizing a child too much divorces it from reality, creates grandiosity, but also rejection and neglection. While the second part of abuse also creates a bad object in the head of the child, which is a difference. And in my opinion, yeah, there are slight differences in how this plays out in the psyche of the person, of course. However, sadism can be found in both. Whatever. Yeah, I talk about healthy individuals today, rather, because that was what I wanted to say when I say everybody has narcissism in himself in a healthy way, which means it does not control your whole behavior. You're not based on a splitting mechanism. You see the nuances, the colors of life, not only black and white and so on. But the problem is when we repress narcissism, and I think in my case this was the case. When I still was 35, I didn't know what narcissism is, and because of my education and the way I am, and however, why ever I am who I am, I repressed these traits in myself, which lead, so narcissistic traits, competitive thinking, grandiose self image that is not rooted in reality, a shared fantasy, delusion, and interacting with other people based on my introjects. So, a prejudice. No, I was open minded and gave everybody a chance to prove and update my introject relationship to persons based on the object relationships. So I repress my narcissism, my selfishness, and so on. Therefore, narcissists manifest in my reality because I have this shadow side of myself repressed, and it naturally has to become reality to teach me something. However, now let me get now to the message in a nutshell. And today I'm not using irony. Today I'm not making jokes. Today I'm not playing around like I do when I'm completely unleashed, free, doing myself. Today I try to be very clear and precise. Okay, on a nutshell, how do I reflect about narcissism and the narcissistic abuse recovery? I believe step one for a lot of people, and I'm talking from my own experience, this is natural. We always try to understand others based on ourselves, which makes us vulnerable for narcissistic and psychopathic abuse, by the way, because we try to make sense of the behavior and motivations of the narcissist and psychopath, of their behavior based on ourselves, which means we empathically fill their actions and deeds and what they say with our own self understanding and nature, which takes a lot of energy and effort, and we then think better of them in some way than they really are. The truth about them is often very simple. They are simply manipulative, selfish, and have a hidden agenda running. So the psychopath is goal oriented, the narcissist is attention oriented, delusional, and highly competitive. However, let me get to the nutshell now. I believe step one naturally is to learn about narcissism, that it's not just a word, not just a person that is a little bit selfish or whatever. No, it's a fully fledged personality disorder, NPD, narcissistic personality disorder. We learn about the therapeutic language and the inside geometry or architecture of the psyche of a narcissist, that is based on what we just talked about. They are controlled by their narcissism, this phase, this part that is part of every human being, which makes us all vulnerable to it, but they are controlled compulsively by it and therefore have a false self they sacrificed. They sacrificed their own true self as children, and therefore they keep on doing human sacrifice in the family cult. They need to thrive on sacrificing others for themselves, for the benefit, is just what they do. And they are not like you, so don't try to make sense of what they say or what they do using empathy. It's a waste of your energy. They are simple and bad. Okay. Now, step one, understand narcissism. Also, psychopathy is helpful because it can overlap very much. Also, borderline. All the cluster Bs, they all overlap. They have something in common, but something separates them. But it can exist in comorbidity, which means it can seamlessly switch over to another state. However, they are mutually exclusive when we look at object relationships. So again, borderliner has only object constancy, narcissist has only introject constancy, psychopath has none of the above. He has no constancy, completely detached. Um, so they cannot be one and the other at the same time, but they can switch and have similar traits. Anyway, step two is to identify these things, everything that you learn about the pathology, which is painful because naturally we just want to learn about healthy psychology, right? But no, we are forced to get into this pathologic sides, which means staring into the abyss. And then we learn something about ourselves as well. It's a journey of years, I'm telling you. And what I want to say is, for me, in my case, the hardest part or a trap of healing from narcissistic abuse is to keep repressing these traits. We can't repress it because once we understand how primitive the defenses and the nature of the narcissist and the psychopath is, we might hate it or reject it even more, but the opposite is leading to light at the end of the tunnel. It's to learn from it a little bit and integrate it into yourself in order to deal with these threats in your life that have accumulated because you repressed it and denied it and tried to be a people pleaser too much. However, another step of healing that I just don't want to keep away from you is to silence the introjects. This means all the bad voices, all the self-doubt that the narcissist tried to implant in you, like Trojan horses or malware in a computer or viruses. Um, Narcissists have no access to positive emotions, and when their um, contagious shared fantasy space, when you're exposed to it, you are exposed to um, cancer of the soul, to hazardous radiation, to self-hate of a person that projects the self-hate on you via projective identification. In other words, your mind gets negative. You get maybe hateful, better on the narcissist or the psychopath than on yourself, but they try to put it on yourself through gaslighting. So the psychopath gaslights you really because the psychopath has reality testing at all times, but makes you doubt yourself through reverse therapeutic attempts. In other words, it's like a psychotherapist with bad intentions to destabilize you. And the narcissist believes everything they do, they are completely absorbed. They are in the same boat, in their shared fantasy. But this doesn't make it better. It makes it worse, in my opinion. So they are not as surgical as the psychopath, but highly, highly infectious. They have a dirty way and absolute the opposite of hygiene, and infect you with their competitive, negative, primitive, passive aggressive, covertous uh, ways. It's yeah, you know what I'm talking about, right? And yeah, so we need to silence this negativity, remember who we really are. And I can't go into the many layers of forgiveness. There is tons of videos I made about it. Um, yeah, however, we had now step one, understand narcissism. Step two, learn about yourself when you learn about them. Step 3, identify the introjects they gave you and silence them. And remember the positive introjects, your nature, your self love, and direct everything at yourself that belongs to you. Um, it's something new you have to learn. You have to learn to not please people. You have to learn from the psychopath, the goal oriented, the psychopath is um, in a shared fantasy only with her goals, with his goals. The psychopath loves his goals. So, goal orientation is a positive trait also for you if you're not a psychopath. Selfishness of the narcissist and a grandiose, good, healthy self esteem is good for you. You need it. But you can't have it once you are exiting the abuse, because the abuse is characterized by triangulation, humiliation rituals, undermining your self esteem. That's why the narcissist loves and hates you. It's the same for them. And it takes time to recover all of this. So we now have these steps. And step 4 would be to um, I had it, then I lost it. Now I will recover it. Now step 4 is the point of this video, to really integrate this in yourself, which means appreciate these things that you had repressed before the abuse, which made you vulnerable. Um, Integrate your knowledge about what you have learned about narcissist, psychopath, and yourself in your daily life. Integrate self love, something that you have never practiced because you was people pleasing and performing for others. Integrate all of that. Also, appreciate and learn to love the primitive part of narcissism and psychopathy in yourself. It's not the same as those who are controlled by this, those whose personality is fully shaped only by this. No, but you need a little bit of this to deal with them. We're not living in paradise. We're living in a wild world. We need part of this integrated. And when you love this in yourself, everything, all of that, you can deal with these people much better. There will be no more fight or flight. And this is what I need, what I mean when I speak about these things. I sometimes contradict myself. I say, everything is fantasy. Yes, everything is narcissistic fantasy. All your self concepts. But you need them. The difference is when you root them in reality, plus you don't have to coerce others to validate them like a narcissistic family cult, where everything is built up on this shared fantasy and everybody is coerced to be a slave to it and validate it. That's a difference. Um, yeah, I hope I could make my message a little bit more clear. And yeah, I sometimes contradict myself. And it's because it's so hard to at the same time criticize narcissism, but not repress it in yourself. We need to understand it's part of everybody. Just we are not controlled by it, but aware of it. We hold it. We tame this primitive predator, and we are not parasites. This is also why I emphasize so much on functioning in some way in your community, in society, because otherwise we drift away in a fantasy that is not rooted in reality anymore. And that is the pathological side of narcissism again, right? Hope I could make it more clear. Stay blessed. Happy Sunday, everybody. And if you have any more questions, feel free to ask. Thank you very much. And I wish everybody the best. I know this journey is very hard and things are very, very confusing when you're out of this, when you're still stabilized, when everything that has to do with narcissism triggers you, dysregulates you, raises your heartbeat. And one of the worst things is narcissists cling on to your narcissistic defenses. So when you stand up against them and you let your grandiosity go and you hold them accountable, they say you're the problem, you're aggressive, you're the narcissist. And when you not do it, you're their victim. They can parasitically prey on you and they leave you no chance. Therefore, you need to understand that they are absorbed in a delusion, but you do whatever you want. You're free. You're free. It's, and I know you can understand this as long as you're too, let me say, unhealed, which sounds cheesy, or when it's the wounds are too fresh. We need years to do all of this work. And it never stops. I'm not anywhere at a finish or whatever, right? Let's go push on. That's it. Until the next video.